Curtis, we're building up to our FA Cup third round tie against Brighton at the weekend. Just to start off with, when you hear the words FA Cup, what's the first thing that comes into your mind?
It's a fond and a bad memory in one. It's obviously the cup final. It was a special day for the city, for the lads, for everyone involved. And although obviously we did lose the game, it was a good day overall. And we're hoping that we can emulate that one day soon, and no better time than this year to do that.
Has that changed from if I'd asked you that question a couple of years ago then?
It would have been more memories of watching the FA Cup. Growing up, I was a Man U fan, so having watched maybe the Gaffer obviously played in a few FA Cup finals for United and stuff like that, so they would be more of my memories. Possibly Cantona scoring the winner against Liverpool, that was a big one, or Giggs's heroic dribble against Arsenal, them sort of things. But since obviously our own experiences, it's obviously taken front stage on my memory now.
Looking back at that run, we'll talk about the Brighton game in more detail later, but that run was a real momentum builder, wasn't it? What are your memories of it?
I think it was a situation where we went into the cup as a bonus, basically. So you see that early on against Middlesbrough, we used our squad, we changed, I think, near enough the whole 11. Some of us didn't even travel. And then we got Southend in the next round, which was a really tricky game down there. Luckily, Matty Fright popped up with the goods to stop a replay. And then from there, it sort of started getting to the point where, we've got a favourable draw, and we started putting our full squad out as possible, our strongest team possible. And obviously, it got us the results and we managed to get to the final. But it's never easy against any team. I know in all of along our draw, we were always the top seed as such by league position, but it was a tough road, and we had to come through some decent challenges, particularly against Brighton, especially at their place, to get through to the final.
Looking at the final, what are your memories of the morning, building up to the game, arriving at the stadium?
It's the whole hurrah of it, in terms of you going down the day before and everyone's wishing you well, and then you get to the hotel, you're getting messages from your mates, good luck tomorrow. So it all, obviously, it's just a culmination, because from the semi-final onwards, anywhere you go in the city, good luck in the final. So it's a long time coming. But for me, on match day, it was a strange one, because we had to do press and things like that. So I had to do an interview on the morning of the match and things like that, which you usually wouldn't be doing. But obviously, being the FA Cup final, you understand why people have to do it. But for me, it was just a case of when we got to the stadium, I was just raring to go. I was anxious to get out there and get going. It's all been a long time coming, and I know that you're here now. You want to enjoy the game, but I was just thinking, let's get out there, let's play football. And obviously, I think that's probably why Manchester scored a goal so early, because I was anxious to get going. You
led the team out. You introduced the lineup to Prince William. Mm-hmm. You scored the goal, like you mentioned. That all happened in the space of about 15-20 minutes. Yeah. Is it a whirlwind looking back, or do you have some clarity now on those memories to take forward?
It is clarity now, but I think straight after the game, when you think that I went from having scored that goal and having seen my celebration, you know that I just went ballistic and mad, because I'd scored an FA Cup final. It was a childhood dream of mine. And then you go from that to after the game, where I'm picking lads up off the floor, saying, we've done ourselves proud. Then, as soon as Arsenal lifted the trophy, I was the one blubbering like a crying baby. So it was a whirlwind of emotions, but I think as soon as we were away from the stadium, we were able to go and meet our families and stuff like that, and we had a meal that night put on by the club. You're able to take it into perspective that we done ourselves proud, we done the club proud, we done the city proud, and it was just an unfortunate day that we didn't manage to get over the line.
Can you remember the moment the ball fell to you in the box? We were already 1-0 up at the time, mm-hmm. and something like 8 minutes gone, it comes to your foot. What's going through your mind at that point?
It was just reaction, obviously, because we obviously had the joy from the first set piece where Chesney had scored, and then we felt that they might be a bit nervous from that. So from the corner, I just remember it fell out to Quinner on the edge. He's done a good turn on Ramsey, put it into the box, and I sort of was half ready to celebrate for Brucey scoring. And obviously it come off the post, and on the tight angle, I think that's the only reason I hit it so well, because I had to concentrate, because it was a tight angle. I think that's the only reason I've scored it. I know it sounds silly that the tighter angle I've scored it, but I think if it was maybe in front of goal, I might have snatched at it and just blasted it. But I just thought get my foot through it and make sure it's a solid contact, and luckily it's gone in the side netting. And yeah, like I say, see from my reaction that I quite enjoyed it.
And then Alex, of course, a few minutes later, it could have been even better, and that might have been the goal to...
I mean, I've watched the game a few times and always overanalyse things, as you do. It's always the ifs and buts of football, you know. If you score that goal, like I say, and then we talk about, obviously, was it a corner for their second goal, and there's all the things you can go into, but ultimately the result is what it is, and we just have to look at it that we done our best and we gave a good account of ourselves that day, especially the fact that Arsenal would come here, I think 2 or 3 weeks before that, and wiped us off the park. So to go to Wembley and do that to a very strong Arsenal team that were able to bring on 2 internationals in extra time, it takes a lot of doing.
You've already touched upon it, but can you take us through the range of emotions from kick-off through the 120 minutes and just beyond? Yeah,
well, like I say, you go into the final and against an Arsenal team, against any team really, you're thinking, especially the defender, let's just start solid. Let's get through 20 minutes and let's make sure that we're in the game, and then that's when Arsenal will start stretching because they'll want to score a goal. Obviously 5 minutes later, 3 minutes later, Chelsea scores, which obviously we've all got a little bit excited about, and then that's when we thought, okay, we've got the goal ahead, let's just sit back again. Then we get a set piece. Obviously, eventually he falls into the box again. I managed to score, and then all of a sudden you're in a dreamland. But you're still thinking to yourself, let's get to half time, because you know that if you can get to half time, you've got a very good chance that you'll see it out, because Arsenal wouldn't have been able to relax. They would have had to throw caution to the wind at 2-0 down, and we might have been able to expose them with our counter-attacking football. But unfortunately, they managed to get their goal, a key time for them, I think, because obviously they hadn't had time to sort of become expansive and allow us to open them up. So they got the goal and then they relaxed because they know that they've got good quality players and they had enough time in the game to then get back into it. And unfortunately, from our point of view, for them to get back in it from a set piece, which still watching it back now, he didn't really know much about it. It sort of bounced off one head, bounced off another, fell to him in literally the perfect spot, similar to mine, I guess you could say, and he's managed to put it away. But I say Ramsey coming on in terms of, he hadn't come on in the game, but I mean, onto that ball late on, and it's a hell of a finish. I watch it back and it's devastating, but you can't fault the finish that he's produced. And like I say, we were backs against the wall. They'd obviously, like I say, brought on international players in extra time, and when you can bring on that quality that late on with fresh legs, then you know it's going to be a long last 30 minutes. And it's just disappointing, like I say, that I think the reason why I melted so much and become a weeping child when Arsenal went up to lift the trophy is because being the captain, especially, that you'd worked so hard in that game, you'd literally given every bit of blood, every bit of sweat for the team, and to try and lift that trophy. And as the captain, I would have got to do that. And then to see Thomas Vermaelen, who didn't even play in the game, lifting the trophy, jumping up and down, it sort of hit home that should have been me, and it should have been us. And I think that's really what took over my emotions, and the realisation of it really was a bit too much for me at that moment.
Is it only the FA Cup that can bring out those feelings and emotions in the course of one afternoon? Sometimes you don't get that in a full season, and yet you had all that in 120 minutes. Well,
yeah, an FA Cup, or I guess in the League Cup as well, you could obviously get similar emotions, I guess. But cup games are just, because you know they're a lottery. You look at of times gone by with Wigan, obviously what they've done to Man City to score in the 90th minute winner against Man City, the emotions they must have been going through, and then the flip side, that Man City, what they must have felt. Going into that game, they were strong favourites, and Wigan were a side that were already relegated, and then they end up popping up and getting the winner. So you can't really just grasp that, because you go into a league game, you're expected to win, you might lose it, fair enough, but you've got another 20 games left in the season to put it right. If you don't get it right on that one day, then that's it. You don't get another chance until the next year, that if you're fortunate enough, you get through to the final. And I'm glad that after Arsenal breaking their duck against us, I know obviously they beat us in the third round last year, But I'm glad that they actually went on to win it again. So at least it were the best team that beat us.
Does it feel as though there's maybe still a little bit of unfinished business with the FA Cup then, given what happened that day?
You always will do, because I think anyone that's been beaten in the final will feel that. But it's down to getting to the final, isn't it? It's all good saying unfinished business with FA Cup. The only way to finish it is by winning it. And that's no easy feat, is it? As we said, Arsenal hadn't won anything for 10 years, and obviously when they won the FA Cup twice in a row. Manchester United haven't won the FA Cup for a long time, and you're talking about big clubs that have won it many times. So for us at whole to have got to that final, it was a great day, but it would take, I think, a little bit more from us to get to that final again than it would do one of those teams.
We've got the chance to start another run on Saturday. Home tie, that's all we can ask for really at this stage.
Yeah, it is, and obviously Brighton are a team that are in a similar position to ourselves in the Championship. A very good team. They've got a decent squad, so I imagine both sides will probably make changes. Looking at the league game 3 days later, sorry. But it's a game that needs to be won, and if it's not on the night, like we didn't manage to do it down at their place, then you need to win it in a replay a couple of weeks later. So it's all about getting through the rounds. We don't need to play pretty football. We don't need to enjoy the performance. When you're in the FA Cup, it's about getting through the rounds and making sure you're in the hat. And I'm hoping come Saturday we've got enough to see ourselves in that hat.
And it will bring back memories from that run, because we played Brighton twice, drew away, beat them here. You managed to score in that replay. Yeah,
it was because in the first game, I knew Brighton obviously were a very good footballing team, and they'd obviously gone 1-0 up with a Joa, and it was. Then we're thinking, we could be out of this. And luckily Sagbo popped up for that goal late on, and then obviously we managed to get the replay, and when we got the replay, we come back here, we were generally quite strong here, even in the Premier League, so we always fancied ourselves, and my goal, whether it be a fluke or whatever it was, obviously just come off the top of my head, sort of aiming for goal, but not expecting that trajectory, and it's managed to go in, so that started it off, and I'm just hoping that come this weekend I can maybe get myself another goal, but however it be, as long as we get the winner, I'll be happy.
Should be a good game, like you said, two evenly matched teams at the moment.
Yeah.
Probably not looking for a replay, either team, so.
Yeah, it could be a game where, like say, especially if you're talking about players where we might make a few changes, they might make a few changes. It could be a game where a bit of caution is thrown to the wind, and players playing for their place might want to try and impress. So it could become an expansive game, which I guess isn't really both of our styles. But if it makes for an entertaining game and a game where we could possibly win, I'll take whatever game it is. But me as a boring centre half, I'd always take a 1-0 win over anything.